What is up there, SEO pros? Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the part one to the SEO course that is in the link to the description if you don't know what it is. As usual, I do the first video for all the courses that I do live on YouTube, and then everything after that is within the course, mainly so I can use this video for a sort of intro video for the landing page for the course. So what I went ahead and did is I added to the course outline from what we were going to be doing for the SEO basics. Now, before we go ahead and start, I just want to welcome everybody who's in the course currently, and just let you guys know that I appreciate you guys basically buying the course, and I'm going to hopefully help you guys get from beginner to somewhat advanced SEO by the end of this course. So if that doesn't happen, let me know, and I will make sure to try to help you guys in any way I can. By the way, for the people who have joined the course, if you have any questions about the course, please leave a comment in the Facebook group instead of emailing me, because I know a lot of people in the past in some of the other courses that I have actually wound up emailing me with their questions when you can just go ahead and ask them in the group, and we can help other people within the group with those questions. So I'm sure you guys have already read this landing page, which is why you got the course, but I'm just going to go over it really quickly. There are a couple key points I want to talk about. Like I said, in here, you can see I said, first of all, I want to congratulate you for showing interest in SEO. So I'm talking to those of you who are both beginner and advanced SEOs already. I'm hoping that even the advanced SEOs in this course hopefully get to learn maybe some more refined skills and perhaps some new things. And the people who are brand new, if you don't understand what we're talking about at first, don't worry. Some of the things in SEO take a while to start to learn, and it's not a big deal if you don't learn it right away. Just stick with it, and hopefully you will start to get it as we move through this stuff. So hold on, I forgot to check if I'm, let me get to the Yeti microphone. It sounds a little bit better. All right, so that probably sounds better. Okay, so secondly, I put a disclaimer in here, and what I wanted to really say to you guys is, if you start doing SEO and say you are a complete beginner, I really recommend that you don't just start watching this, like the SEO basics, and then go and try to rank people's sites and sell SEO immediately. One of the things that I'm probably going to recommend for you is to start doing this to your own assets first. So it's a really good idea when you start SEO to try to rank like a local business first, or maybe your own website if you're trying to go for national. Because one, you're going to have a case study, and I talk about this in the Triforcing course, because you're going to want to build authority and kind of show like a case study for the people you're trying to sell to, kind of showing that you can do it yourself. And it also helps you kind of know that you can do it for yourself instead of just going out and trying to do it for other people. But the other thing is just really risky to just start going into SEO when you could be, like, for instance, matching this knowledge with other knowledge, like, oh, somebody said to go get PBNs or buy Web 2.0 properties on Fiverr and stuff like that, which I really don't recommend, and we will talk about that later. But just know that if you are a complete beginner, I really don't recommend you just go out and start trying to sell your SEO to people. Okay, cool. So course outline, of course, we're at the beginning, SEO basics. And the first thing we're going to want to cover is important HTML elements like title tags, meta descriptions, open graph data, and structured data. If you don't know what that is yet, I will explain that to you. We're not actually going to be going over how to create this stuff. I'm going to point it out to you guys so you can see it. We're going to go what links look like, what heading tags look like, header elements, stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check in on the chat every now and then. Just so I can see if there's any questions or anything. We got hi from Sohail. Yuda says hello from Israel. What's up, guys? And another guy says hola. What's up? All right, cool. So we'll just go ahead and view this page source. So if you guys don't know about the Google Chrome, you can right click and view page source. If you have Safari, I think you have to enable the developer mode. And I think Internet Explorer lets you just view page source, but if you're going to be doing SEO, I'd probably recommend Google Chrome. So we're going to view page source by right-clicking. This is a Squarespace website, but a lot of the elements are going to be very similar. So in here, you can see we have our head tag. This is where the beginning of the website starts. So you have your head tag, you have your body tag, and you have your footer tag. And I'm sorry if some of you guys are, advanced and or maybe you're beginners to SEO, but you already know HTML. I'm just doing this for like literally the complete beginners, and we're going to get more advanced as we go. So let me just open up my text editor so I can show you guys what this looks like. So we'll go new document, and we're going to make this text a little bit larger. So as I was saying, within any functional web page, there is a heading tag, open heading tag, and then an end heading tag. And basically a lot of the stuff for SEO goes actually in here, like your title tags and your meta descriptions and your OG tags, that stuff, and maybe your JSON LD structured data, but we'll go over that in a second, so don't worry about it, about that. So we got our two head tags. After that, we got our body tag, and we got our end body tag, like this. And then after that, we got our footers. Actually, I don't even think there is a footer tag. So I apologize. There is no footer tag. The footer is just an element on the website, which is right here. Yeah, so you basically have your head tag and your end body tag. There's no footer tag, right? Oscar?
What's up?
There's no footer tag. Oh, I guess there is a footer tag.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, sorry. So I don't do HTML often, so I do apologize about that part. So I guess there is a footer tag. And you can put code in your footer tag, I believe. So you can put some people put their Google Analytics in here. And we haven't covered analytics yet, so we'll talk about that later. But I generally don't put anything in there in terms of my SEO stuff. So we're probably not going to talk about that. If you guys have anything you do for SEO in the footer tag, let me know in the comments. It'd be interesting to hear that. But either way, this is usually what a website looks like. And everything in between here, at least in between the body tags, is what you actually see on the page. So all of this stuff, beginner to advanced course, like the video, all of the text, that's all in between this body tag. So let's go back to the source so you can see this. So we'll go to the head tag. Whoops. Sorry. So if we scroll down, you can see beneath the head tag is the title tag. And I'm not going to be covering like all this stuff in HTML. Like, let's see. What is this? Like UTF-8 and stuff like that. That's like, I think how the characters work or something. I don't even know. I honestly, to tell you guys the truth, I don't really know HTML that well. I did take a class in college for it, but I'm just going to be telling you the parts that I know from an SEO perspective are the parts that I look at. So you can see in here, though, there is a item scope, item type equals schema.org webpage. There are things you can do with this certain type of markup. It's called schema markup, which will actually tell Google different things about the website. For instance, this is telling Google that this is a web page on the internet, I suppose. If you want to see what that actually means, you can, I think, take this link, copy it, and then paste it into your browser. And then you can actually see what that definition is. So a web page, every web page is implicitly assumed to be declared to be the type of web page. So we're not going to schema markup yet, but I'm telling you that is schema markup right there. So then we have our title tag. And this is what gets shown in the search result and at the top of this page. So if you hover over the tab on your internet browser, wherever you are, it'll say whatever the title tag is that is specified. So beginner to advanced SEO course, Chase Reiner SEO. If we go and see what this is on the search results, so we do site : and then the URL, it'll actually show us that's the same thing that's right there that we showed before. Now, if you're not seeing the same thing in the search results, say for instance, you see on your website it says like beginner to advanced SEO course, and then on the search results it doesn't say that, it says something different. Google doesn't always take these title tags and use them. Sometimes if you're like keyword stuffing or like using stuff that Google doesn't like, it'll actually not show it and show something else, or it'll truncate it, meaning it'll put little dots at the end of it. Generally, a title tag should be, I think, around 75 characters now. It used to be a little bit less, but Google has been upping the title tag lengths. Below that, you'll see the URL. And sorry, I forgot to mention keyword stuffing. What keyword stuffing is it's like taking a bunch of your keywords and just like using them only for search engines. So you're like saying like beginner to advanced SEO course, SEO by Chase Reiner for SEO 2018. That's just ridiculous. So you don't need to mention your keywords that many times in order to rank for them, but we'll talk more about that later. So now that we've got past that, underneath the title tag, you'll see the URL, chasereiner.com / beginner to advanced. And then underneath this is the meta description. So meta descriptions now can apparently be up to 320 characters. It's debatable whether or not you should actually make your meta descriptions that long, because this literally just happened a few days ago. But I haven't really tested this, so I couldn't tell you for sure whether or not this, is a good idea. Maybe check back in with me if you're watching this later and ask me, and maybe I can give you a different answer on that. But either way, so we got the title tag, and then the meta description is usually right under, gotta find it. Let me just do Command F, description. And there it is right there, meta name description. So that's the thing that you saw in the search results right there. If you guys are wondering how to put this into your websites and stuff, I will show you guys that later. I'm just showing you what these properties are, and then I'll show you how to implement them later. For the OG stuff, you can see it says OG. That means Open Graph, and what Open Graph means is it's a type of data that social platforms use. Apparently, Twitter has its own type of OG data, I guess. And so this is what you specify what you're sharing on social platforms. So you can see here, you can actually share OG data to Facebook and like Pinterest and stuff, and then you can share something completely different to Twitter. And I'll show you more about that in the future. But right now, just know that that's what the OG stuff is over here. And if we keep scrolling down, you can see, I think there's some more like structured data in here, like schema markup at some point. I think this is it right here. It's all being compressed though. So it's kind of hard to read, but one of the best ways to look at structured data is not to look through this HTML. And to be honest with you guys, I don't usually look at this stuff. Like I use tools that make this easier for me, like Moz Bar. We will cover that later, but just know that a lot of this stuff, I don't actually view the page source most of the time. So the next thing you'll see underneath the schema markup is the Google Analytics. Now, this is really important. We will be covering this in a little bit, but you really want to have Google Analytics on your site. And what Google Analytics does is it basically lets you track the traffic that's coming in to your website from different sources, and lets you do some other cool stuff as well. And then underneath that, we got our Facebook pixels and stuff like that. We're not going to be covering that in this course. And those are some links and stuff like that. So some of the important elements I want to talk to you guys about from an SEO perspective, I will be doing in a second. Let me just go back to the chat really quick. We got Embracing Wellness says, good to see you, Chase. What's up? AC Penaloza says, sup, Chase. I heard someone that they put no follow links in the footer. Yeah, so that's actually, I'll just veer off for 1 second. A debate that a lot of people have is whether or not you see sometimes in these footers, they're not doing it, but you'll see in the footers, there'll be like a bunch of links. Like for instance, like I don't have it here. Let's see. I'm trying to find a site that has a bunch of links in the footer. Generally, you shouldn't do this because what will happen is you're going to be, one, diluting the other links on your website, but two, here's what I'm trying to say. If you're going to be doing a no-follow link, it's usually it's an external link in your footer. Like sometimes you'll see like web designed by somebody. So if it says like designed by something in the footer, then you'd want to no-follow that because you don't want to have like 500 links pointing back to your website if it's a follow link, because that's going to be bad, according to John Mueller. And then the other thing is if you just have a bunch of menu links at the bottom of the footer, it's going to dilute the value of the other links, and they're not necessary. Like nobody really uses those. So I really wouldn't do that unless you're listing things in your footer that are not in your menus up here, if that makes sense. Like maybe location pages or something. I don't know. So yeah, sorry, I'm veering off for a second, but let me get back to the important elements. So if we're looking at a web page, let me just grab the link really quick. If we're looking at a web page, one of the most important things besides the title tag, which we already covered, is your heading tags. So you want to use certain tags throughout your website, like for instance, H1 tags, H2 tags, H3 tags, like that. And I'll show you what those are. So let me just go into this site, just log in, click onto there, and we'll go to, what is it? Pages, SEO courses, edit, oops, sorry. So if we were to go into here and start editing it, and we will be covering WordPress too. So if you guys are like, making fun of me for using Squarespace right now. So you can see here it says heading 2. You can choose a bunch of different ones. And if you change it, it'll change sort of the formatting. And you can change how these look in like your CSS if you're using like more of a custom template. But with Squarespace, it's a little bit different. I think you just choose like, I think you choose it in your theme. But anyways, you only want to have one H1 tag per page. Anything over that, I guess you're apparently sending like split signals to Google. Google doesn't necessarily specify whether or not you should use H1s, multiple H1s, but Bing does. They actually say you should only use one. So it would be a good idea to only have one H1 if you can. And I think some of the time with Squarespace, it's really annoying. I think they actually make your logo into an H1. No, okay, so wait, it looks like it's not. No. I think it used to, though. I remember there was a problem with one of the themes I was working with. There was 2 H1s. There was like a logo H1, and then there was a page H1. But either way, the other H tags doesn't really matter. If you have like 3 H2s, 3 H3s, or 6 H3s, that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. There are some SEO checkers that you can use, and they'll say don't use more than 3 H2s. I don't know if that really matters. I don't think it does. I think that's just up to you, but I would just try to stay away from using multiple H1s. The next thing is if you have any images on a page, like for instance, like see an image here. If we control click that and we inspect it, you'll be able to see over here whether or not it has an alt tag. So you can see it says alt jack. You generally want to be able to make these images like what people are looking at. So a better way to do this would be like alt tag equals picture of Jack, or alt tag equals, Jack photograph, that kind of thing. Because there are people who can't read or see websites, and they use screen readers, and when they go over it, it'll actually be reading to them. It'll say like testimonials, and then it'll have a picture, and it'll say picture of Jack, and then it'll say great photos, even better. So then they know, right? Versus keyword stuffed alt image. So keyword alt tags, actually you can put keywords in them, and they are helpful for your on-page SEO. But you really should try to stay away from keyword stuffing them. Some people ask me also whether or not you can, like, if you geotag these images, if it's going to help your SEO. I think maybe it would if people are looking up like location-based things and they're looking through like images, but I don't know if that's really going to make a huge difference for like something like local SEO, but that's a completely other question that I don't want to dive in too much right now. Other than that, in terms of like the important elements, you can do certain things like bold and italics, which some people say that by adding bold and italics, it will increase the relevancy of your post. And then some people say you should only use bold and italics like a couple times per post. Like you should only use it per like 2 to 3 times per 1,000 words or something. I also don't think that's really a thing as much either, because I have clients that are using like tons of bold and italics throughout their text, and they're using it not really from a keyword standpoint. They're just doing it to like highlight different like sales points, and they're doing really well with their SEO. So I don't really know. If we go here to Moz Bar, which I will leave a link to this, I really do recommend you guys get this, whether you are beginner or advanced. It helps you just give a quick overview of the different important elements on a page. So let me just leave a note for that over here so we don't forget. Get Moz Bar link. But yeah, so if we go into the Moz Bar, we just click on it, and this is a Chrome extension. So if you don't have Google Chrome, I also recommend you get that. So you can see here, page title, it'll show us that we have 50 characters. Meta description, it'll say 160, and there you go. It shows us what it is. Meta keywords, this is a deprecated tag. So if you see websites that say meta keywords on them, you generally want to like get rid of those. They don't do anything. Some people keep them because they think it helps certain search engines like Yandex or something, which I've never even used. But some people say that they get a lot of traffic from there. And they say that Google doesn't mind these anyways, so why not just keep them? I think that they probably do, and it makes it look like an outdated website that still uses meta keywords. That's up to you. I really recommend you don't use them. You can see here H1 beginner to advanced SEO course. So that's the H1 here, which Oscar we should change because the S is undercase for some reason. H2, these are the other ones throughout the site. You can see in here like that one and so on. And then you can see bold in italics. It'll show us everything that's bold and italicized here. And then it also gives us all the alt text for the images like we were talking about before. If you click over here, you can start seeing certain things like page load times, link metrics, markup, stuff like that. We're not going to get into that right now. But if you did want to start looking at your schema markup and your open graph, there are 2 links in here which you can use tools that it links to test that stuff. But we will be covering that later on. Cool. So let's just get back into here and see if there's anything in here before we keep going. Hello, Robert. What's up, man? All right, if you guys do have any questions, make sure you ask them now. Like I said, this is the intro to the course, which I'm only doing 1 intro. And then if you do want to get the pre-sale, you can head in the to the link in the description and get it. And if you haven't joined the free Christmas giveaway, where I'm giving away 3 of my courses for free, it's like worth $500. You can just click on here, and all you have to do is just tweet it out. All right, let's get to the next part. So we covered some of the important HTML elements. If I did miss out on any of those, make sure you guys let me know in the comments, and I can cover that in the next video. So the next thing we have is mobile-friendly websites and why mobile is important. So most of you guys, or some of you guys, probably know about the mobile first index coming out. And if you guys are watching this course later on in the future, it's probably already out. But basically what it was meant to do is Google knows that, of course, more than 50 to 60%, I think it might even be more now, of its traffic is from mobile phones. So they want to create a really good experience for mobile sites. So what that means, for people on their phones. So what that means is that they're actually going to be indexing the mobile side of things first. So if your website is 2 different sites, say it has a mobile version and a desktop version, it'll index the mobile version of the site first. Also, if they're 2 completely different sites, if the mobile version has less content than the desktop version, you're actually going to not be doing as well. So if you guys don't know what a mobile site looks like, it's usually something like m.name of site, like that. Or it'll just be like subdomain. Well, I mean, m dot would be a subdomain. Or if your site still isn't even mobile friendly, meaning like you go to like a site and it's not responsive, meaning like if you go to this and you like sort of just drag this and it doesn't scale, see how this is scaling? If that's not happening, Google actually will give you a penalty for that. So you really want to make sure that your site is mobile friendly. If it's not, you can actually use certain things like content management systems, which we will be talking about in a second, like Squarespace or WordPress, which will actually have responsive themes built in, so you don't have to worry about creating a separate mobile website or figure out how to scale your HTML and stuff like that. If you guys are still building sites with like just basic HTML and CSS and stuff like that, I'm assuming you guys probably know a little bit about content management systems, so I wouldn't have to explain that. But either way, it's really important, and it's getting more important. The other thing about the mobile stuff that Google's doing is that if you have a really bad experience on a mobile site, So for instance, say it's really slow, or if your users are getting there and it's not like it's not like a site where they can get in on their phone and like start clicking on stuff and like they know what to do. Like if it's a really bad experience, Google's usually, from what I'm understanding, Google's able to understand like sort of user metrics. And what that means is like if somebody goes to a site from Google and they click on it and it's not a good experience for multiple reasons, maybe it's a slow site, or maybe it's not responsive, it's not mobile friendly, stuff like that. They can do something called pogo sticking, where they'll go to your site and then end up bouncing off and going to the next site. And Google's able to look at that kind of stuff. So it's really, really important that it is mobile. So I think I kind of drove the point across there. The next thing is the ranking factors on Google. So we're going to lightly tap on these. There's, according to Google, over 300 ranking factors, but I've also heard from other SEO experts like Alan Bleiweiss talk about how there's actually sub-ranking factors that go upwards of 1,000 in the thousands. And what that means is like there's different types of ranking factors depending on intent. And there's also these things called multipliers, apparently, which are like ranking factors combined, basically. So there would be like, for instance, say somebody clicked through to had a high click-through rate to a page, but there was a high bounce rate. That could create like a sub-ranking factor. I don't necessarily understand it, nor do I think it's really important to dive that deep into things. I think it is important to cover, kind of the different Google algorithms like Panda, Penguin, Hummingbird, stuff like that, which we will be talking about in the future, and kind of what those algorithms were sort of made for. But as in terms of like all the sub-ranking factors and like really getting into like stuff like that, even me, who I consider myself pretty knowledgeable about SEO, don't think it's really worth diving in and trying to figure out all of those, because it can be a black hole at a certain point, and it's very hard to test, especially in SEO, because a lot of things will take a really long time to test. Sometimes they don't, but yeah. So I will be covering, like I said, a lot of the main ranking factors that are going on right now. So user intent is, of course, very large. So here's some of the top ones. So user intent, user metrics, and your authority. So I talk about this in the Triforcing course. So here's the top. Those are the top three things that I sort of talk about as being the most important. There are other really important things like page speed and on-page SEO. But in terms of user intent, we'll just talk about the first one, user intent. So if somebody is looking for something, say for instance, they're looking for the word panda, they're going to get the rap song on Google. And the reason for that is Google's able to understand the intent of that query. They know that people who are looking for that word are looking for this song based off how people, one, search for these things. So say, for instance, somebody was to type panda, and then they were to type in panda audio, and then they were to type in panda song, and then they were to type in panda like rapper or something like that. That's one thing that's going to be a huge signal to Google, because say, for instance, there's a lot of people typing that, and there's not as many people typing like panda animal or things around that. That's a big signal to Google saying, hey, look, we want to find this, not the panda animal. The other thing is the click-through rate. So if people, or the user metrics. So that was the first one, user intent, how people are looking for it. The next thing is the metrics, which kind of plays into intent. So if people are looking for that, and then they click on a video or whatever it is, say it's a search, like a regular result or a local result. If the click-through rates are really high, so meaning people are like clicking on it, and like the amount of people who are seeing it are also clicking on it, then Google also knows, look, this has a really high click-through rate, and we know that people really want this. The other thing is if people aren't pogo sticking, so meaning they're going and clicking on this and then going back to the search results, and that they're not going back to the search results and clicking on something else, and they're staying on this, right? The last thing is authority. So if we see a couple different videos, say for instance, we type in panda and we type in audio or whatever, say it's panda audio. the reason why we're not seeing different videos pop up, even though there's probably tons of different videos, if we go to this video tab, look, these are all different videos. The reason why we're seeing that one is because that's probably the authority. You can see it's Vivo or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. Hold on. So people want to watch it from this channel because it's like the original source. It's probably the first source also to publish the video. So it probably started driving the metrics up super early, which is something I talk about a lot. It's called the stockpile method, and it's what I do with these videos. You can see even on this video, I'm SEOing for 2018 when it's not 2018 because I'm trying to get the user metrics high while I can. So if you guys want to look up like more in-depth explanation of how to do that, you can just go to stockpile SEO, just Google it, and you'll find my video explaining that method. So that's user experience, user intent, and authority. Those are three of the main things you want pretty much on anything. There are other ways to explain this. Some people I remember I read a post the other day. It's called EAT, which is like, I don't even remember. What was it? EAT SEO. I can find it. People create all these different acronyms and stuff for, oh, here we go. Expertise, authority, trust. So it's all kind of the same sort of thing. It's just really up to you guys on how you want to do it or kind of go about things. But you really want to focus on those three main things, which is really figuring out what the intent is for what people are searching for. How can you drive those metrics up, keeping those people around, creating high click-through rates, generating authority, being the authority in that niche, and that kind of stuff. So the other things that are important, of course, are links. So a lot of people who started out doing SEO wound up only doing links building because that was like the main thing that worked before. And we will be talking more about this with the different algorithms in the future. But there are basically all the things that work really well and that you should do, like on-page SEO, content, links, stuff like that. There has been algorithms created to combat that. So for links, there's an algorithm called Penguin, which basically focuses on making it so that people don't game their links just for rankings. But links to your website are important, and we will be talking more about what the term for that is in the future, called off-page SEO. Citations are something that you can use for local businesses, which are something that Google looks at when they're trying to rank you for like local queries. For instance, like, iPhone repair in my city. They want to see that you have citations mentioning your name, your address, your business name, your address, your phone number, and your website, if possible, on other local relevant sites or niche-specific sites. And we will be talking more about local SEO in the future. So we also have on-page SEO, which is kind of more about those important HTML elements and optimizing your pages so that you're focusing on a lot of pretty much everything in here except for off-page SEO, like user metrics, user intent, internal linking, stuff like that. We also have page speed, which is of course very important ranking factor. Google recommends under 2-second load times. Original content, so you don't want your content scraped from other websites or copied from one page to another. You want all of your pages to be as unique as possible, and the algorithm that deals with content and original content, stuff like that, is something called Panda, which is like that song. Authority, we already talked about that. Reviews, it's another way to build authority as well, especially local, and it also helps you raise your price on things. I will be talking about sort of what direction you can go to start a review generation strategy as well. I have a really good technique that I use, which has generated me, 175 something 5-star reviews for SEO, which has actually made me the highest rated SEO on Google with that strategy. We also have social signals, which do play an importance in SEO these days, basically covering things like Facebook, Twitter. If you can get a lot of user metrics and traffic and presence on those platforms with your posts, you can usually also go up a little bit in rankings also, but that is also debated between a lot of SEOs whether or not social signals are actually a ranking factor. I believe they definitely are, And I do think that they will become more important in the future as well as social media platforms get more and more utilized. And a cool fact, just to let you guys know, I think it was it last year or something? I forget when. But Facebook wound up driving more traffic to websites than Google did. So it's kind of cool. So we also got internal linking. So you can actually pass link influence from one page to another. We'll talk about that more in the future. Site architecture is also a huge thing. We will be talking about that on the technical side of things. And then, yeah, so like I said, I'm trying to make this as beginner as possible, but there are some more advanced things in here. And if you guys don't understand this right away, please just try to stick with me, and I will explain this stuff more as we go on. A lot of the people who are getting into SEO don't understand. Like even when I started hiring people as interns here, I had people who were here for like 2 months before they understood what I was talking about. Like they were just looking at me like glazed donuts. So just really try to stick around if you are trying to learn SEO, or if this isn't making sense, just stick around, and I will hopefully sound better at explaining this, I guess, in the future. But like I said earlier, if you don't understand this stuff, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know. Let's check in on the comments really quick. You had me at raising my prices. I don't remember what I was talking about there. You guys are all silent in here, so I'm assuming that this is somewhat of a good stream, hopefully. Let me know if you like it. All right. Cool. So we went over some of the ranking factors. We didn't go over the specifics. There are a lot more that we can go through by going on an on-page SEO checker and stuff like that. But a lot of that stuff's going to be covering more in the site audit section. The next thing is choosing a content management system. So as explained earlier, I only do WordPress or Squarespace. There are advantages and disadvantages of both. It really also depends on what your strategy is. So if you're going local SEO, or you're going national SEO, or you're doing e-commerce, for instance, WordPress would probably be better for e-commerce. I use Squarespace for all my local sites. And then for national, I would probably say if you're going to be keeping that site around, it might be a good idea to go WordPress. But the main reason why I recommend WordPress over Squarespace is because it's more customizable and there's more plugins and more things that you can do. The reason why I would recommend Squarespace over WordPress is that it's faster. You can get the design done really easily for cheap. And it's easier to use, in my opinion. Now that's also debatable. A lot of people would say WordPress is a lot easier, but in terms from a design standpoint, like I was saying before, Squarespace is a lot easier, in my opinion. The other thing is that with Squarespace, there's a lot of downfalls. If you're using like schema markup, they mark up like all of your pages with organization markup, and you literally can't do anything about it. I literally just tweeted them the other day and asked them to take that down because it's just ridiculous. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about there, we will be talking about schema markup later. But yeah, overall, I would go WordPress if I were you. But if you are going Squarespace, just know that you can switch to WordPress at any time. Same thing with WordPress, you can switch to Squarespace. When I started out with the YouTube channel, I was on WordPress. This design was terrible because I didn't want to hire a designer for $5,000. So I had somebody do a Squarespace site for me, which is this one for $500, and likely I will be switching it back to WordPress at some point. But if you're a complete noob, Squarespace, I think, might be a good idea. If you're trying to go for other things like Wix or something, I really would not do that. Wix is like really heavy in JavaScript, and it's hard to rank the pages. Squarespace and WordPress, I haven't really found a difference in terms of the ranking of the pages. I literally switched this from WordPress to Squarespace, and the rankings have been about the same. So another thing that's important is page speed optimization. Like I said, you really want to have the site load for generally under 2 seconds. And that's not only because page speed is a ranking factor, but it's also important for the user metrics, which is indirectly a ranking factor as well. You saw on here, it said 5-second load time. It's probably because of the video embed that I put on here. If you look at your analytics, which we're not going through yet, we will be covering the analytics in the Search Console later. There are certain things you're going to want to look at. Like you can actually see your page speed, site speed overview, like right here. And this is for one of the sites that we're working with, which we really want to bring this down because on average, you'll see there's a 7.5 second load time. or sorry, over here is 4.64. And if we can lower that, we would actually end up probably boosting a lot of their rankings and user metrics, and you'll see bounce rates lower because of that. So that is going to be a project for one of the clients that I'm working on in the future. Next, we have setting up Google Analytics and Search Console. Because this video has been a little bit long for an introduction, I will be covering those next things, the overview of Search Console and Analytics later on, probably the next video. And what we're going to be doing is I'm just going to be showing you every section of it so you can kind of see and get an idea on sort of the things that are important, how conversion tracking works, all that kind of stuff. So after that, we got our site architecture and your URL structure. Now, I don't know why I put this in the basics, but I will give you a quick overview. So how your site is built is really important in terms of like how you're displaying your content. So you can see here, we're at chasereiner.com. If I click on here, you can see it goes a level down to SEO courses. And if we click down here, you can see it just goes to the course. Now, what we could do is we could do SEO courses / beginner to advanced, right? Which is probably what we should do. Like I said, I had somebody design this course and this website, and they did more of like a URL structure like this. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think that's going to like really make or break the SEO. But once you start getting into things like, for instance, your content and your blog. So say for instance, SEO guides, you can see the subcategory of that is SEO. And then if we go here, it's the actual post. Now there are some people who do just their website and then just the post name, and everything on their website is just one level down. There are other people who like heavily categorize all their stuff. And it's especially important with products. Is there a 100% best way to do this? I've spent so much time thinking about this and asking like experts and just really testing and doing a lot of stuff around this. What I have found is that a lot of these main pages, I don't think it really matters like too much. I think it would probably be good to do SEO courses and then have this stuff. But in terms of the blog and the content, like the content marketing you're going to be doing, I really do think it's good to categorize this stuff, not just from a user experience standpoint, but from a standpoint that it makes sense. I don't think it makes sense to have all of these posts just be one level down because people don't really know where they're at when that happens. There are people who argue that if you just have this one level down everything, you're not going to dilute the value of the SEO, or you're not going to dilute the value of the SEO as if you were to have it two levels down like this from a category. There's also debates on how you should index this stuff, like whether or not you should index categories, whether or not you should index authors, stuff like that. When we do the Yoast setup, which I might just point towards a video, I will be talking about whether or not you should be indexing certain things. But until then, I think we're gonna sign off for now because that was a large introduction, and I hope you guys are not too overwhelmed. We got some people commenting. We love it, mate. Thanks, man. Yes, loving it. Interested in the subject. Yuta says, this is great, Chase. Thank you. Tom Gooden says, Team WordPress. I knew Tom would say that. Where can we get WordPress? WordPress you can get when you install your hosting and look at your cPanel, or wherever they have it. AC Penalosa says, I like to craft CMS, but I mostly use WordPress. Darren says, you did a great video on schema markup. Wix, you can't leave. Content is locked up. Yeah. Carrie Huff says, lower your page speed video, please. Not sure what that means. Zpeep says, isn't it better to have a shorter URL than lots of slashes? So yeah, just going back to that, you want to usually have 3 to 5 words per level. So this is definitely not how you want to do it. I think somebody else posted this. I'm not sure. Yeah, they did. So I had somebody working for me, and I was getting video breakdowns from these things. And what we did is just posted it and didn't specify the URL. So yeah, you'd want to have like this be secret 2018 SEO or something. SEO 2018 secret. That would be like the ideal. And then the same thing with this title tag. So this hasn't been properly optimized either. So we will be covering that later on in the on-page optimizations down over here. I don't know where it went, over here. If you guys want to see the notes for this stuff, they will be in the actual landing page. I will be adding to all of this. I'm just going to be basically on these things, elaborating and then adding to them as I go. So this will be a very large landing page in the end, but if you do want to check out this page, it is the first link in the description, and the giveaway is the next link there. Carl says, hey, shout out. What? Jimmy says, I bought both Yoast and SEO Presser. Can I use them at the same time, or will I get a ton of duplicate title tags errors? Yeah, I think I was using both of those at one point, and there are some errors that you get. Carl says, what's SEO? I just Googled it. It says black hat. So SEO is whatever you want to make it. No, just kidding. SEO is basically, and I should have explained this at the beginning of the course, because that's like literally the first question is, what is SEO? SEO is optimizing your pages or website for the purpose of driving traffic to it through Google and ranking for keywords. There's probably a better way to explain that, but Carl says you're welcome. Now, what do SEOs think when somebody says, what is SEO? They think it's just manipulating search engines and everything is black hat or not following Google's guidelines, which we should have also talked about, but Google has a specific set of guidelines that you should, they say you should follow, and if you're not following them, you're going to get punished, whether it be through a manual penalty, which is a penalty that Google's teams, basically they find your site and they give you a manual penalty, and you have to try to fix that. We will be talking about that later. Or a algorithmic penalty, which is based on their different algorithms, which has nothing to do with manual things. But yeah, so we will be talking about that stuff later on and what black hat SEO is and what white hat SEO is. But just know that this course is for white hat SEO. So we try to abide by Google's guidelines as much as possible, but it's not going to be, of course, entirely possible because a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing is somewhat for search engines, which already breaks one of Google's rules, optimizing for anything other than its users. Kafori says, can you talk about backlinks versus citations for local SEO? If you wanted to hear more about that, Kafori, I would recommend you check out the local SEO course I have on my website, where I talk more about that kind of stuff. Carl says, what about gray hat? We'll be talking about that later. Rohit says, what's the difference between black hat and white hat SEO? We will be talking about that later in this course. I do apologize to you guys who haven't got this course because I would love to do all this stuff for free. Unfortunately, I don't have enough people supporting me on Patreon yet to be able to just give away all this stuff. If you guys do want to donate to this Patreon, definitely would help me out so I wouldn't have to do all these courses for paid. But until then, we will be doing the rest of this course in the link in the description. So I hope to see you guys there, and I do enjoy you guys sticking around. And until I see you all next time, happy SEOing.